Hi friends, welcome to Sweet Adeline Stitches. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I make my hydro pouch. So I did draft this pattern myself. It took a lot of trial and error, different materials, the best way to finish it, just matching up the measurements, but it's been a lot of fun, and seeing what I imagined come to life has been a really cool experience. And I love the support from other people out there, other small businesses, other sewers being excited and wanting to try it out. So it really motivated me to make this video. You can find a pattern on my Etsy page, and I'm going to link it down below if you'd like to come support us. This bag is such a cool way to accessorize your tumbler. If you are at a gym, running a quick errand, or just a fun way to accessorize and make your tumbler unique, it's an awesome way to do it. This bag features a wide zipper up top, so you can easily put things inside. You can add a slip pocket if you'd prefer. What else? So I did finish it with a cinch strap so that it's like a Velcro-like material, so it's adjustable. So if your cup's smaller, you can make some adjustments. If it's getting too big, you can even cut the Velcro there yourself. I did finish it with the binding method because I love the structure that it gives the pouch. Yeah, it's been really exciting, and I appreciate your support. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let's get started. Here are the materials we'll need to make the bag. For the cinch strap, I use this Velcro-like material, so it sticks on itself, so you can adjust the bag to a 40-ounce cup or a smaller cup if you'd like. You can also use an elastic. I have my 1-inch webbing cut 3 inches long. This is from Wonderground Fabrics. Isn't that pretty? And my 1-inch D-ring. This zipper tape is also from Wonderground Fabrics. It's a size 5 zipper tape and a size 5 zipper pull. You can definitely use a size 3 zipper set if you'd prefer. I made my own binding because I like it to be at 3/4 of an inch. You can also use those 1/2-inch double fold bias tape if you'd prefer. I just like this because I like to get away from that zipper tape as much as possible. For the main fabric, I'm using this one from Fabric Therapy in their Therex Tex material. It's super smooth, it's so nice, it's so beautiful. I'm a little obsessed with it. That's okay. It's also waterproof, and I don't have to stabilize or interface it because it's pretty sturdy on its own. For the gusset part, I'm using this velvet in noir from Indo Love Creation. And then for the lining, I'm using this waterproof nylon ripstop from Fabric Wholesale Direct. Again, I don't have to interface this one because it's got that waterproof coating on it, so it's sturdy enough on its own. Alright, other tools that we're going to need. I have my fabric scissors here, my craft scissors, bag tag, my snips. I got this from Mormino. Isn't it cute? I've got some basting tape. This one's a 1/4 inch and this one's 1/8 inch. I've got my hemostat. I'm going to try out how using these, see how I like it. This one's a zipper tool from Fabric Therapy to attach my zipper pull to the zipper tape. We've got lots of clips. My stiletto. This one's my little taser. See that? It helps me seal my zipper tape and any threads. I've got 2 marking tools, a silver one and a blue one. Your thread, of course. I use my 1-inch by 6-inch ruler to place my bag tag. It's come really handy. And also a bigger ruler to cut out other pattern pieces. Here are pieces all cut up. With the main fabric, I have 2 of the center panels pieces here. With the lining fabric, I have 2 of the center panels here. This is my zipper tape measuring at 8.5 inches long. For the top gusset, I have 1 of the main fabric and 1 of the lining. For the bottom gusset, I have 1 of the main fabric and 1 of the lining. And then for my cinch strap, this is 11 inches long. All right, let's do some prep work. So I'm going to attach my zipper pull to the zipper tape. Put it like so. And then I always like to look at my coils. And as you can see here, the right one is the one on top. So when I put this on, I'm going to double check at the end to make sure that is the case. Sometimes it takes one go, sometimes it takes a couple. Looks like it took us one go. So right here, as you can see, the right coil is the one on top. As you can tell, I've got some shedding here. So I'm going to clip that off. And I'm going to use my little taser to seal the zipper tape. Do the same for the other side. Alright, so now our zipper tape is good to go. Next, I'm going to take my D-ring tab and my D-ring, and I'm just going to loop that in there. And then I'm going to stitch this just to baste it. Alright, we're going to set this aside. Next, we're going to take our center panel pieces, with the main fabric, and determine which one you want to be the front panel. So in this case, I want this one. So I'm going to set this one aside. And if you are not going to put a bag tag, you don't have to worry about this, but I am. So what I'm going to do is take my bag tag and a basting tape. Using my craft scissors, just snip a little bit off. I'm going to put out my bag tag here to just help me keep it in place before I sew. Since this measures at 4.5 inches, I'm going to take the middle, which is 2.25, and center my bag tag there. Whoop, that's upside down. Making sure it's right side up. And that's the center of my bag tag. Stick that on there. Oh, unfortunately the corpse bride is covered. That's okay. She's going to be featured on the back panel anyway. So now I'm going to go ahead and carefully stitch the bag tag onto the front panel piece. Now that I have the bag tag stitch on here, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more prep work on this center panel pieces. So what I'm going to do is take my lining pieces, turn this upside down, and I'm going to take a basting tape and stick that on here. Now that I have my basting tape on there, I'm going to go ahead and peel that off. Oops. Then I'm going to take one of my lining pieces and put it right side on top. So now it's going to be wrong side together. And just try to match it up as close as you can. What's great about these basting tapes, if you mess up, you can always just peel it off and start over. That's pretty solid. That looks good. And do the same for the other side. All right, that's all done. If you don't have basting tape, you can definitely baste around here. It's just so much easier to use that basting tape. So I'm going to take my front piece to the side and take my ruler and a marking tool. And what I'm going to do, so this is my back piece, right? My back panel. From the top, I am going to measure 2.5 inches down. And just put a little mark here on the side. Same goes for the opposite end. So from the top, 2.5 inches down. And mark it. I'm going to take the D-ring tab that we set up earlier, and I'm going to place this on the left side. You can go either way. I just prefer it this way. To keep this clean, I'm going to go ahead and cut that thread off. And then you can clip this or you can tape it, whatever you want. I just find it easier to go ahead and just put this to the sewing machine. All right, there's my D-ring tab. And at 2.5 inches from the top down, I'm going to go ahead and baste this at 1/8 of an inch. Next, I'm going to take my cinch strap on that opposite end of that 2.5 inch. I'm going to line that up and stitch it on there. Again, at 1/8 inch seam allowance. I like to backstitch a few times all the way down to ensure that this is really attached onto our back panel. All right, so now we have our center panels all prepped, and we're going to put these aside and move on to the zipper tape. Now I have my top gusset with the main fabric or the accent fabric. Then I have my top gusset lining and my zipper tape and also a 1/8 inch basting tape. What we're going to do next is we are going to go ahead and use a basting tape and put at the very top. I use this 1/8 inch to stay away from that seam allowance so that I don't gunk up my needle as bad. Go, and I'm probably going to need some scissors. All right, and when you're cutting up pieces, you just want to make sure that these match up as close as possible, and they do, so I'm pretty happy with that. And then I'm going to peel off that backing tape if it lets me. I think that velvet material is kind of, there we go, having a hard time sticking. Now I'm going to take my zipper tape and I'm going to flip it right side down. And I want my zipper pull to go towards the right. It's a little different than making a bag just because the way it orients on the cup. I feel like it's easier if it's set up this way. You can definitely, if you prefer the other way, that's up to you. And just stick it on there. Next, I'm going to take a few clips. Oops, drop something. Then I have my lining piece, and then I'm going to put this right side down. So I'm sandwiching that zipper tape. Okay, now I'm going to stitch this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Next, we're going to top stitch this. So I'm going to pull the lining back and press it with my fingers. And then I'm going to take the main fabric and pull it back and match it with that lining as much as possible and just press. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and top stitch. I'm going to adjust my stitch length to 4 millimeters. Next, I'm going to go ahead and top stitch the main fabric and the lining together. It'll just make it easier to put it together later on. Alright, now that we have that stitch, it's looking pretty nice. I am going to take my bottom gusset pieces and attach it to this top gusset. So, the way to do this is with your bottom gusset face up. So I got the velvety material right here. I'm going to take this panel and put it face down. And I'll match the short ends together. Then I have my lining piece, and this is going to be right side down. Okay, and I'm just going to clip this. And take it to the sewing machine and stitch it at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Next, we're going to top stitch this. So you're going to pull the lining back and pull the main fabric back from the zipper tape. And then when I do this, I always want to make sure that my lining and main fabric matches again on the other end over here. So that matches like that. So I'm going to top stitch it like this. Alright, now we're going to do the same for this other end. So again, your main fabric face up at the bottom. You've got your zipper panel face down. You're going to make a big old circle here. So face down, and then you have your lining piece right side face down. You can match the short ends together and stitch at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Alright, so I have this here. Now I do want to top stitch, so I am going to go ahead and turn this right side out. So just flipping that like that. And there's my circle. So now I'm going to top stitch this at a 1/8 seam allowance. Now I'm going to take the bottom gusset. See how the lining's kind of separated? I'm going to go ahead and baste this around to make it easier for us later on. Alright, that's been top stitched. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Alright, so here is our gusset. What I'm going to do now is take sharp scissors. I'm going to match up the gusset top stitching here and mark my center. So just a tiny clip, like not even on that 1/8 inch seam allowance, just a tiny bit, just so I can tell where is the middle. And then, since I am paranoid about my zipper tape, I take a marking tool, pen, and again, center my gusset there, my top stitching, and then take my pen and write on here. Can't really see that, can't you? There you go. So there it is. We're going to do the same for the bottom part here. Again, matching those front stitch seams. And then we're going to clip on both sides. Tiny clip. Here it is. The other side, tiny clip. Okay, so now we have our center markings. We're going to do the same for the center panels here. So we're just going to fold it in half. And another tiny clip here. And the bottom. It may take some maneuvering because of the bag tag, but you'll get there. Okay. Next. All right, we've got our center markings now. We're getting closer to the end here. This part is definitely going to be the more challenging part, but it'll be good. Just take your time. Go nice and slow. And I'll try to give as much pointers as I can. So with our center panel, I'm going to open up my zipper tape here, and that's going to make that easier. I'm going to flip my gusset inside out. Then I'm going to take my center panel right side down. I'm going to match these right sides together on my center markings first and clip that. And just clip on the other sides where it's straighter. It gets a little challenging because of these rounded corners, but as long as you take your time and there is a little bit of grace, you'll be fine. So with the zipper tape, it's pretty easy to take these corners, much easier than the gusset piece, and just go one clip at a time. And you're just going to clip all the way around. Just an FYI, I did flip my clips because the way I'm going to sew it is the center panel on the bottom. So I flipped my clips so that the flat part is on the bottom here to make it easier to sew. Now this is where it gets a little trickier on that gusset piece to match your round corners. What you can always do is take your scissors and clip, I would say up to 1/8 inch to that basting area, because our seam allowance is going to be 1/4 inch. All right, those snips should make it easier so that it gives us a chance to flare out. And again, just one clip at a time. All right, here we are, all clipped. Now we're gonna go ahead and sew this at a scant smaller than 1/4 inch seam allowance. I like doing it a scant smaller than 1/4 inch because when we apply the binding later, we're gonna be stitching that at 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I just wanna make sure that none of our other stitches would show later on. So when you do corners like this, especially in such a small bag, you always want to start off where it's straight to make it easier. And again, a scant smaller than 1/4 inch seam allowance. So my 1/4 inch seam allowance is right here. My fabric is here. So it's not hitting that 1/4 inch seam allowance just yet. We're saving that for the binding later. Whew, that was fun. Now we're gonna do the binding. All right, here we are. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and bind this. But before I do, I wanna clip off the excess on those corners there. Just because our seam allowance is so small, you wanna be as clean as possible when it comes to these. That's looking pretty good. Let's look here, right there. Not too shabby. Not necessarily cutting on the zipper tape, just the excess fabric. All right, clean that up. So next I'm gonna go ahead and take that, and like I mentioned earlier, I made my own binding out of waterproof canvas, and I added a basting tape to it. There are a couple small businesses out there like Fabric Therapy and Weft Warp & Co. that offer adhesive binding. Adhesive binding is just going to make it so much easier. It will make your bag look cleaner as well. If you can get your hands on them, those are going to be great. My suggestion. So since I made my own, I'm just going to go ahead and slowly peel away the paper here. And I always like to start where it's straight. Okay, making sure I'm covering stitches on both sides. There you go. Even though it has adhesive, I still like to use clips. I just won't use as many clips as I usually would if this didn't have basting tape on it. So I'm gonna hug the curve there and take it to the straight edge first and press it down. Then I can work on the curve here. Okay, slowly peel off the tape, hug the edge, making sure both sides of the stitches are being covered. Here we go. Again, now that I'm here at this corner, now this is going to be crucial because this is where that zipper coil is, and I want to stay away from it as much as I can. So I'll peel that paper, and watching where my stitches are, I'm barely gonna cover it. Oh, here we go. Fold that down. As you can tell, the binding tape here is shorter or smaller than compared to this. I'm okay with that as long as my stitches are covered, just because I want to stay away from the zipper coil as much as I can, and I'm going to go ahead and clip that. When we are stitching later, we're going to stitch it where we can see that shorter binding tape to make sure it gets tacked on. And I'm just going to go around. Here we are. Now we are going to go ahead and stitch this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're going to stitch this up at our full 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, I'm going to check to make sure I caught both sides of the binding. And at this time, I'm also going to go ahead and flip it to make sure I caught those corners. I didn't miss out on anything, because now would be the time to fix it before I attach the other panel. So that's looking good. That looks great. So you just take it nice and slow. All right, those corners are looking awesome. Now we're going to go ahead and flip that again. And we're going to attach the back panel. When attaching this back panel, I'm going to go ahead and try to move this out of the way by strapping it. Like this, and go ahead and just clip that so that's out of the way. Then I've got this inside out, setting it down, and I'm going to take my back panel. Let me turn off this light. You can probably see better. I'm going to take my back panel and put it upside down and match my center pieces here, my center markings here. Again, we're going to need lots of clips. And we're just going to clip around, and remember, clip your corners here at a 1/8 clippings to make it easier for you to attach your corners. Here we are, all clipped. I've got my hemostat and my stiletto ready. We are going to stitch this at a scant smaller than a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, here we are. I'm gonna squish this out of the way so we can see what we're doing. Take this other clip. Again, smaller than a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And backstitch. Go as slow as you can, especially in these corners. All right, now that's all stitched. We're gonna go ahead and bind this, then we'll be done. Now that I've attached the binding, we're going to go ahead and sew this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Again, you're going to want to take it nice and slow. Take your time, especially on these corners. All right, here we are, all stitched up. Now we're just going to double check that we caught the bias tape on both sides. So that looks good. Singe off your threads. Okay, and then we're going to turn this bag inside out. So here's my front right here with the bag tag. So I'm going to go ahead and use that and pull it out. Go nice and gentle, especially if you have a material that's a little stiffer. And we're just going to push on that binding tape to get that shape. At the same time, making sure that you caught all your seams and nothing is poking out. Okay, good. And right here as well, pushing that binding tape to get our shape. And here, I'll take this off. And there's our bag. Zip this up. Here we go. Here is the hide. Oh, hold on. See, didn't push this out. Push, push, push. All right, here is our Hydra pouch. All done. Let's put this on a cup. So what do y'all think? Isn't it so cool? I am so excited for this, and I've already made a ton. I've tried it with different materials. I've made it with all waterproof canvas. I've made it with all faux leather, with all vinyl, and this one's a combination of waterproof base material and faux leather. So you can definitely make a lot of different varieties. It can also be domestic friendly. So depending on the material that you use, if it's all cotton woven with the binding method, it's still going to give that structure, and it's still going to be domestic friendly. So let's try it out. So in here, I'm going to put my car keys. I've got keys in here that I don't even know what it's for. I've got a gift card, but you can definitely use like a debit card or, your ID. Got my earphones in here. I dropped my lipstick, so I gotta pull one out. So a lipstick. And it's all in there. And you've got your water, and you're gonna stay hydrated, which is fabulous. So I really hope you like this pattern and you like the video. I truly appreciate your support. So thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.